That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
All right, welcome to Around the Ring, episode 43 for today, Monday, November. God, it is November. Jesus. November 16th, 2015. I'm your host, Dave Brown. My partner in crime, Jason Blackwood, is out of town on assignment this week, so we will hear back from him next week. It's probably going to be a little bit of a short show this week. I had every intention of watching some PWG and Evolve stuff, and honestly, I spent a lot of the week that I wasn't, working and doing family stuff, working on my end of the year lists for best records of the year for my music blog, Oklahoma Lefty, which, cheap plug, you can check out at oklahomalefty.com. I've still got a handful of records that I need to review that I've just been sitting on. Haven't been doing a whole lot of reviews the last, year. I've been really far behind. And so this last week I decided, hey, I wanted to pick it up. Plus the other podcast that I've been doing, the K98X, the Fringe podcast, is on hiatus for a while. And because of that, since I'm not doing that, I've gotten kind of more of the itch to write a little bit of record reviews. So I'm working on that, and that will come out sometime in December, probably mid-December-ish is normally when I post that. Last few years it's been a top 30. I'm already at 30 records, but there's some things that are probably going to fall off as I review a few more things. So we'll see what happens. Before we get into the wrestling news and the shows of the week, got to talk about the tragedy in Paris, France that happened on Friday. So, as everyone probably already knows, there was a concert Friday in Paris, France, Friday night. Eagles of Death Metal, I believe, was the band, in which a bunch of terrorists showed up, opened fire, killed a whole shit ton of people. It was fucking awful. I mean, what else is there to say about that? It was an awful, useless act of violence for just stupid-ass reasons. For religion, for power, for money. Who fucking cares? It's all stupid. And it's sad, and it's something that, while other parts of the country sure know about violence more so than the United States does, anytime this happens, it always reminds people in this country of things like September 11th, reminds people in Oklahoma of the April 19th Murrah Federal Building bombing in Oklahoma City. And it's just fucking sad, man. It's these unbelievable acts of violence for no good freaking reasons. What's been almost more disturbing in some ways than just the acts of violence have the reactions of people on social media. Every time I've logged into Facebook, in particular this weekend, and just scanning through the news feed, I see post after post after post about people not just condoning violence, but talking about actively seeking out violence and collecting guns and ammo. And I've read the term locked and loaded multiple times. Like, people are just gearing up for fights, and it's just disgusting, honestly. You combat senseless violence with violence. Yeah, because that works so well. And the whole thing has made me sad, and it's made me really scared for the future. Not because I'm worried about some random attacks by some extremist group, which may or may not happen. I mean, there are going to be nut jobs out there that are going to do crazy ass things. I'm in some ways almost more worried about the freaking nut jobs here in this country who are, getting so ginned up about wanting to go after people that God knows what's going to happen, man. It's the condemnation of Muslims in general online from people who are supposed followers of Jesus. Here's the thing. So, things in the Middle East are really fucked up. And it's a situation that has been fucked up for hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is a plot of land in the desert where, parts of this area is where civilization, at least Western civilization, took root. That was the home of Mesopotamia and Babylon and Persia and Israel, the ancient Hebrew home. To the east of that was Egypt. Yeah, then to the west. Yeah. Well, then there was to the north more so. God, I'm forgetting my geography. Greece and Rome followed. But for a long, long time, people in that part of the world, from the moment of conception, are taught to hate each other. And we're not going to fix it. They're taught to hate each other for religious intolerance reasons, for reasons of power, reasons of hopelessness. The average person in these countries is screwed, man. They live under boots of awful theocratic dictatorships, kingdoms, and whatnot. They don't have opportunities. They don't have hope. And when you have an environment like that, it's the perfect place for extremism to flourish. So what do we do as the United States, being the global power that we are? Well, going all the way back to the Cold War, and really even before then, but so much of a lot of what we hear, especially from when Osama bin Laden was around, there's talk of the United States propping up Israel, and the Palestinians hate the Israelis, and that in and of itself is a completely screwed up situation. So, because we were taught, at least I was growing up, I was always under the impression that after World War II, the global community just decided, man, the Jews got completely hosed. Let's give them back their quote unquote homeland, and it was all agreed and everyone was fine. But that's not what happened. There were generations of Palestinians who'd been living there that were, their homes were bulldozed over. They were kicked out and told, you can't live here anymore. So they got screwed because someone else got screwed. And that whole thing, there are no righteous, there are no good guys. It's a whole bunch of bad. And that has been fuel for the fire of many Islamic extremists. Then you have the Cold War happens. And the United States and the Soviet Union are doing this tit for tat. We're not going to really go to war directly, but we're going to do all this bullshit against each other. And during all of that, the United States props up a number of different horrible regimes in the Middle East. Regimes that didn't do good things for their people. And the Soviet Union did the same thing, man. The Soviet Union abused Afghanistan for so long, and to try to stick it to the Soviet Union, the United States came in, gave money, training, munitions to Osama bin Laden and to his people. And this group eventually became the Taliban, because as soon as it wasn't expedient for the United States government anymore, for the industrial military complex, we were out. Said, good luck. And they were taken over by nutcases. Everything about the Middle East comes down to essentially oil and God. There are people that live there that are mad because they have seen people get rich over the resources in their land, and they're not, getting to benefit from that at all, and they're living in squalor and in poverty, and that makes them angry. It's understandable. So they turn, in desperate times, they turn to desperate measures. Does it make it right? God, no. It is, you live in a shithole, so the answer is to strap a bomb on yourself and go blow up a whole bunch of innocent people? No. The answer, that's not the answer. It's never the answer. Would you want someone to do that to you? If you answer no to that, then why the fuck would you do it to someone else? I mean, that's basic humanity. What the fuck? So what is there to do? Well, after 9/11, the United States went in and took out the Taliban. Understandably so. And then the United States went into Iraq for whatever freaking reason. I truly believe it's so the industrial military complex could profit, because that monster, that machine, is, if it's not straight up evil, it's close. So the United States goes in, and because we as a society no longer have the stomach to really go to war because of Vietnam, the United States just goes in and half-asses this thing, pussyfoots around. And they should have decided that it was either shit or get off the pot. If you're going to do it, do it. Lay the place to glass and rebuild it. That's what we did in Japan, and goddamn if they're not still our allies. You go in, you beat the utter holy piss out of someone, and then you help them up, and you rebuild. But we don't have the stomach for that. And in the absence of doing that, we need to get out. Completely and totally. Walk away. Do a complete, utter embargo, or sanctions, whichever is the proper term. Basically cut all ties with the Middle East. Don't buy their oil. Don't do business there. Shut down everything. Bring every troop home. Bring every ambassador. What are they called? Embassies. Shut them all down. Bring them all home. Bring tourists, companies that work there. All of it. Shut it down. Bring it home. In the meantime, we would buy oil from places like Canada, maybe Venezuela, hell, maybe even Russia. Which is a whole other, can of worms. But you use this as an opportunity to do what should have happened 35 years ago during the crisis in the late 70s, where we had a presidential candidate that did everything in his power to make sure that hostages weren't released until after he took office so he could take credit. So when it didn't happen then, it sure as hell should have happened after 9/11, which is, this was the moment to say, oil, we're done. We can't do this anymore. We are going to run out, and we cannot be beholden to a part of the world where there are so many people that hate us. For why they hate us? Sometimes for understandable reasons. Sometimes their hatred is not uncalled for. But at this point, we just need to get out. So, close up shop, do it all, send a message to industry, science, universities, government, and say, we have less than 10 years. We need to get off oil. We need to have a legitimate option to replace oil as our fuel of choice. We need to be able to have vehicles that are fueled by something else. We need the infrastructure there to provide that fuel. We need companies that have lived on oil to understand that this isn't going to work anymore, and have them and help them develop new products to provide new products and services to the country. Because while I really do loathe many major corporations, and I think they do awful, awful things and screw over customers and do harm to the country, if they could turn their shit around, there are tons of people that need those jobs. So I just want them to do the right thing. So let's have them do the right thing. Turn things around. Find an alternative. And work in corroboration. Automakers, oil companies, gas stations, all of them work together with government, with scientists and universities, develop a new fuel option. We need a moon speech like Kennedy gave, saying we will be on the moon by the end of the decade. That has to happen. This needs to be that moment. Barack Obama is not going to be the person to make that speech for a number of different reasons. One, he's a crony capitalist, and he's just in bed with these schmucks, just like his predecessors were. So it's going to have to be someone after that, whether it is Sanders, Trump, Clinton, whoever makes it there. And believe me, I shudder at the thought of Donald Trump becoming our president. Whoever it is, this needs to happen. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Because these companies and the industrial military complex won't see a way to profit from it. And their profits, by God, are the most important things in the world. So, yeah. So essentially, we're fucked. But that is what I think needs to happen. We need to stop screaming at the individuals and hating on ethnic groups and religious groups. Find commonality and try to get past this, because as much hope as I see for humanity's future, I see acts like this violence and the reactions to it online, and I just think to myself, we're screwed. Whew. Okay, that was deep. Enough of that. No one's tuning into the show to listen to my rants on politics and whatnot. So let's go on to wrestling this week. Before we jump into the shows, I do want to say that Nick Bockwinkel, my condolences go out to his family and friends. He passed away over the weekend. Former AWA World Heavyweight Champion. Hell of a promo guy, a good wrestler. His career was really, really ending when I got into wrestling, because I did watch the AWA back in the mid 80s, but by that point he was ending things, and I've seen some of his matches and knew he's one of the all-time greats. So, rest in peace, Nick. And this week on Raw, we had the beginnings of the WWE World Heavyweight Title Tournament. Show was out of Manchester, England, home of some classic artists. Manchester, England brought us the Smiths, Joy Division, New Order, Electronic, the Charlatans UK, the Stone Roses, and I'm pretty sure the Inspiral Carpets, and the Happy Mondays. So lots of great artists from the 80s and 90s kind of alternative pre-Nirvana music scene. But Manchester, England was the place that Raw and subsequently SmackDown were taped. And the show opened up with Triple H doing an in-ring promo. The WWE title belt was on a table in the ring. So Triple H came out to a really big pop. There were some thank you Rollins chants, and Triple H did a good job, kind of talking up the crowd and whatnot, and called out Roman Reigns to a mixture of boos and cheers. Now, apparently, it's been pretty well documented that the WWE really tinkered with the crowd noise. And according to Jim Ross, this is something that's been happening for ever and a day. So it's hard to judge the crowd reaction. Later in the segment, there was a spot where the crowd we heard on TV was cheering, but apparently booed like crazy. We'll get to that here in a second. But they really did. They fucked with the crowd noise a lot, something they've been known to do. But this initial reaction to Roman Reigns was very mixed, so it makes me wonder if the reaction he actually got was boos, was almost entirely boos at the event. Triple H says that Reigns could basically get directly into the finals of the tournament, and that the Authority had considered him for the spot that they eventually gave to Seth Rollins, but they didn't think that he was basically bloodthirsty enough. Triple H offered Reigns the title, essentially, and said, you know what, this isn't fair. All you have to do is be my guy. Reigns said no. But the way this was written was one of two things was going on. It was done in a way that was definitely setting the seeds for a potential Roman Reigns heel turn, which really needs to be the way to go. But it was also a very John Cena-like promo, and I'm really starting to think that some of these folks writing don't know how to do anything other than write John Cena promos. Triple H says, okay, fine. Well, that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. Oh, by the way, your match in this tournament is right now, and it's against, drumroll please, The Big Show. Yes, The Big Show. This was a match. Boring as fuck, honestly. Reigns got the win. Yeah, like anyone didn't see that coming. The thing I don't get with The Big Show, and I've mentioned this before, but why during his matches does he always yell, "I'm a giant"? No fuck. We see that. You are like 7 foot something fucking huge. You're 400 freaking pounds. You are big AF. We know you're a giant. Stop telling us. Wayne Rooney, who is a big-time soccer, or as they call it, football player, was at the ringside. That's going to come into play later on. But the thing I missed. The moment during the Triple H segment, there was, basically it came down to He was offering Reigns the title. Reigns told him to stick it, and what we heard was a whole bunch of cheers. Apparently what happened in the audience was a shitload of boos. That crowd wanted him to turn heel, and rightfully so. But that was that. We then had the next match was Kevin Owens versus Titus O'Neil in the next round 1 match. Nice big pop for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was very over. He, on the way to the ring, he cut just a hell of a good promo about the WWE needing change. I mean, it was fantastic. This was a good match, surprisingly good match, because Titus O'Neil, while he is this huge guy, looks great, tons of charisma, isn't really the best wrestler in the world. But this was a good match. I had a lot of fun watching this. Owens got the win, as he should have. We then had Renee Young backstage with Paige. And Paige got a nice little pop. She referred to Charlotte as Baby Flair, which I liked. We then have a match, Becky Lynch versus Paige. Becky got the win with a roll-up. Paige attacked Becky after the match and put her in the PTO on the announce table. Charlotte came out and made the save to a round of Hardy boos. And that was that. It wasn't what these two ladies could have. Becky Lynch really is the Cesaro of the women's division. They need to do something more with her. They said some highlights of the WrestleMania ticket sales party thing. I have a friend of mine named Floyd who actually went down there, got his tickets. He is heading to the WrestleMania. I forget what he's gone to a lot of them in the last few years. So good for him. We then had The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler in the next round 1 match. Dolph won with a fantastic super kick just out of nowhere. Knocked The Miz clear the fuck out. Just boop. Done. Boop. He was down. Out. Good shit right there. Alberto Del Rio and Zeb Coulter cut a promo on the stage area talking trash on England. They did get some what treatments. Del Rio said that his first round match will be on SmackDown against Stardust, so they are having some of these matches on the SmackDown, which, is... Unfortunately, they decided to do the first round and the quarterfinals on Raw. So, on Raw and SmackDown. So, you're only going to get the semifinals and the finals actually at Survivor Series, which kind of sucks. I was hoping they would do at least 3 of the matches at Survivor Series itself. But I like the fact that they had, some of the matches on SmackDown, which I did watch. Just watched them this morning. So we'll also talk about those. Plus, they need to do something to try to get people to watch SmackDown. Though I will say the marquee matches were all on Raw. The real marquee matches, but we'll get to that. We then have Natalya in a match against Naomi. A whole bunch of We Want Sasha chants, which Natty was egging the crowd on for that. Natty won via a roll-up. Sasha attacked Natty after the match. Now, this was cool. Natty reversed a bank statement into a terrible-looking sharpshooter. And then, up to the point she actually got the sharpshooter in, it was really cool. Tamina came in, super kicked the fuck out of her, and Sasha put her in a bank statement. While she was in the bank statement, I think it was Naomi put Sasha's glasses on to Natty. It was pretty hilarious. And so yeah, that was that. We then have Sheamus with King Barrett in his corner against Cesaro in the next round 1 match. Huge pop for Cesaro. Cesaro was hella over. Tons of Cesaro section signs. And this was the match of the night, easily. This was probably match of the week. I mean, the Briscoes All Night Express match on Ring of Honor was pretty fucking fantastic. But it probably tied for match of the week. There was a moment where Cesaro did that reversal out of the Irish Curse backbreaker that was just looked awesome. Cesaro got the win with his fancy roll-up thing. And there was also a moment during this match where Barrett was talking trash with the soccer player Wayne Rooney, and Wayne Rooney punched him out. Just slapped the piss out of his mouth. It was great. And that distraction is what helped cause the Cesaro to get the win, but the place was erupting. On a real quick note, something I noticed during the show is they talked a lot about former world heavyweight champions, and they've got the announcers have gotten in this habit of referring to the WWE, the pre-unified WWE title and World Heavyweight title. They're basically talking like it's the same title, which, since they unified it, that's I'm okay with that. It's not completely accurate, but I just thought it was interesting that they kept kind of referring to it in the same way. We then had Dean Ambrose versus Tyler Breeze in the last of the round 1 matches for the night. Huge pop for Ambrose. He was very over as well. Not quite as over as Cesaro, but he was over. And then Tyler Breeze, before coming out, did a backstage interview with Renee Young. And this was Breeze's first match on the main roster. His first match on Raw. I'm really glad they included him in this tournament. But it, sucks that he lost, which we'll get to in a second, because he did lose. There was no way he was going to go over. There was this one moment. Sorry, my brain just decided to stop working as I was looking at my notes. But there's this, during the match, it was a really good back and forth match. At one point, Breeze is out on the floor, and there's a kid in the front row screaming at Breeze, screaming, that's what you get for messing with Dolph Ziggler. I mean, just all over the place. Ambrose won with a small package. Really good match. I mean, the one thing I really like about this tournament so far is there were a lot of matches we really hadn't seen. I mean, yeah, Big Show and Roman Reigns, it was a yawn fest, but a lot of these were very fresh. Titus O'Neil and Kevin Owens, hadn't seen that. Now, Miz and Dolph Ziggler we've seen, but it was what it needed to be. At Sheamus and Cesaro we've seen, those guys have had some classic freaking matches, but it was an excellent match. Yeah, Ambrose and Breeze is something we haven't seen. I'm sure that they tussled in NXT or in FCW in the past, but this is a fresh new match, especially for the casual fans. So far so good, and we'll talk about the other matches from SmackDown here when we finish up, after we finish up the talking about Raw. All right, next we had the New Day and Neville against the Usos. No, wait, I'm sorry. We had the New Day against Neville and the Usos. God, I can't even read my own writing. Huge pop for the New Day. They came out doing their promo thing. They were asking why they weren't in the tournament. And I was wondering that myself. But, they were... God, the New Day are so awesome. At one point, the JBL did drop a great line. He's like, they're like a happy Freebirds, which just cracked me up. The New Day got the win. Freaking great match. It was the whole thing was awesome. That's another one that, if we're going to talk about matches of the week, Cesaro, Sheamus, the 6-man tag match, awesome. The Briscoes All Night Express match from Ring of Honor, awesome. So we had a lot of good matches this week, a lot of really good matches. Then the main event segment was Bray Wyatt's eulogy for The Undertaker and Kane. I'm really glad that they gave the Wyatts, and Bray in particular, the main event segment. The crowd did start singing at one point. He's got the whole world in his hands. Bray just cut a phenomenal fucking promo. This is one of the best promos I've heard from him in a long time. Kane and Taker came out. Undertaker looked sunburned. He looked like he had just gotten out of a tanning booth. His face was so red it was kind of crazy. As soon as they hit the ring, the Wyatts then came out. There was a brawl, a good brawl. It ended with Taker and Kane giving a double chokeslam on Bray. This was a great segment. The crowd was on fire. They loved it. Tons of fun. Now, we did learn on SmackDown that basically Wyatt challenged Taker and Kane to a traditional tag team match where it will be two members of the Wyatt family against Kane and The Undertaker. I'm very disappointed with this. I was hoping for a Survivor Series elimination match. Oh, God. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, very tired. Never get enough sleep. But we're not going to get that. We're just going to get a traditional tag team match. If this will end up being the blow-off, I don't know. But we'll see. SmackDown, I only really watched the matches that had to do with the tournament. And so the first one was Neville versus King Barrett. Pretty decent pop for both guys, which you would expect them being in England and all. Now, this is not a new match. We've seen this match many, many times. Neville did get the win after taking most of the punishment for the match. It was a good match, though. Wade Barrett gets shit on a lot by folks. I like Wade Barrett. He's pretty damaged, but the guy can still go. Neville's great. They have great chemistry together, so it was it was a pretty good little match. We then had Kalisto against Ryback. This was interesting. Kalisto got the win. There was really early on in the match, he hit a Salito del Sol out of nowhere, and when Ryback kicked out, he launched Kalisto through the ropes onto the floor. It was pretty impressive. Kalisto took a lot of punishment from this match, and they shook hands at the beginning, and it ended with Ryback put Kalisto on the top rope. Looked like he was going to go for a back suplex, or a belly to back suplex off the top rope, and Kalisto reversed it into a Salito del Sol, got the win. After the match, Ryback looked shocked, and they shook hands afterwards, and Ryback raised Kalisto's hand. So we've got Kalisto going forward in the tournament. I think that's cool. You need something in these things that's unexpected, and I think we all assumed that Kalisto would, have a good match against Ryback, but would lose. But no, so props to WWE for doing something different. Then the final tournament match of the night was Alberto Del Rio against Stardust. This was a decent little match. It could have been a lot better, I think. Del Rio got the win with his double stomp from the corner thing. It was actually a pretty darn good match. There was some good back and forth, and that's it. So what we're going to have on Monday, and I'm not sure if they're doing it all on Monday, or tonight, I should say, or how much of it's going to be on SmackDown, but you're going to have Roman Reigns versus Cesaro, Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto, Kevin Owens versus who's Owens going against? Hold on. Okay, I'm going to have to look up the brackets. One moment, please. Crap. Can't believe I have literally... Okay. God damn it, man. Okay. My computer's being real freaking stupid right now. So, WWE World Heavyweight. Yes, everyone wants to listen to me, Google. Wait. Title. And 2015 round 2. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so let's try this again. Roman Reigns versus Cesaro. Then we have Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto. Kevin Owens against Neville. And Dolph Ziggler against Dean Ambrose. This is going to be fucking awesome. So, real quick predictions. Let's start with Ziggler and Ambrose. I think Ambrose is going to win. Owens against Neville. I think Owens is going to win. Alberto Del Rio against Kalisto. I think Alberto's going to win. And Roman Reigns against Cesaro. I want Cesaro to win. I know he won't. So Roman Reigns is going to win. Now, interestingly, right now, at least as of my recording of this, on the WWE.com, they have their little poll, which is asking the question. And let me pull it up right now so I can tell you the current numbers on it. So they're asking the question. Load up, motherfucker. God damn it. Which remaining contender do you want to win the WWE World Heavyweight Title Tournament? And this is the list in the order that they have it. Roman Reigns, Cesaro, Alberto Del Rio, Kalisto, Kevin Owens, Neville, Dolph Ziggler, and Dean Ambrose. Here's the current breakdown. Number one, well, here, let's start from the bottom. At 1%, we have Alberto Del Rio. Also at 1%, we have Neville. Then tied at 4%, we have Kalisto and Dolph Ziggler. Kevin Owens has 11%. Dean Ambrose has 19%. Roman Reigns, 23%. And the person that most people want to win at 36% is Cesaro. If that doesn't speak volumes to WWE, I don't know what will. But, you know, he's Swiss, and that's why people don't understand him and all that crap. Gross. Anywho, this is awesome. Cesaro is really connecting with people, and I think that's fantastic. I don't think he's going to win this tournament. I think he's going to have a very good showing. If it was up to me, I think we would have him lose, get into a feud with with Sheamus, and basically feud over the Money in the Bank contract, and eventually win the Money in the Bank contract. Because if we have Roman Reigns end up winning the whole thing, especially as a heel, Cesaro challenging him with the contract place would go bonkers. So, for the third week in a row, we actually had a pretty good episode of Raw. I really honestly enjoyed it a lot. Sadly, though, the ratings are continuing to decline. So what does that mean? Does that mean that, you know, people don't give two shits about Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens and Cesaro and Roman Reigns? Or does it mean that a lot of fans have just turned off because they've gotten so sick and tired of what the WWE has given them for over the years? I think it's option B, honestly. WWE has done a very poor job of building up new talent and have dug themselves into a hole. And they're going to have to dig out. And the only way to dig out is to build new stars. And I talked about this, I think, last week or maybe the week before, where the company is where they were basically in 1993. And they're going to have a couple of dark years. But then, eventually, things will turn around. So, we have to... they really need to focus on what they have. They have just superstars in the making in the New Day, Cesaro, Ambrose, Owens. I mean, these guys are just going to be top super huge stars. Same with Sasha Banks. Same with Bayley whenever they bring her up. Same with Sami Zayn whenever he comes up, and Finn Balor. I mean, these people are all going to be mega stars. And same with Bray Wyatt. So the future is bright because they've got better talent than they've ever had. Hopefully they don't screw it up. And that's just my fear, is that they will screw it up. A couple other last quick notes about Raw. There was a sign that I just loved. It was Vacant 316. That cracked me up. And there was also a moment after the Kevin Owens match when he was leaving the ring where he put on JBL's hat. It was just hilarious. So that was WWE this week. Actually, quite enjoyable. Let's hope, though, that the powers that be just don't screw this up, man. Keep build the momentum. Get your fans, your core hardcore fans, excited and happy. They will spread the word, and things will get better. Breaking Ground this last week was another really good episode. I'm really enjoying this show. There was a lot of focus on Josh from Tough Enough, the Yeti, who just comes off as such a complete dum-dum. Poor guy. They followed the 3-city tour of Texas. There was a good bit with Tyler Breeze. There was one moment where Tyler Breeze and Ty Dillinger were searching for vampire bats under bridges in one of the cities in Texas, which was hilarious. Then there was a moment where they went to visit the Alamo, and there was a whole lot of arguing over what actually happened there. That was pretty funny. The thing with this story, though, is it was a lot about this Josh character. And Josh he's a good looking dude. I didn't watch Tough Enough because fuck that. But his personality, at least on camera, sucks. And this whole Yeti thing he wants to do is awful. I know that's just part of him. And I'm sure coming up with a character has got to be hard. He's going to have to do something. Otherwise, he's gone. So let's get into NXT. This week, NXT was, again, from Full Sail, as well, per usual. We opened up with highlights of the Apollo Crews Finn Balor match from last week, with the run-ins from Baron Corbin and Samoa Joe. The show opens up with Ty Dillinger getting ready for a match against Baron Corbin. The match never happens because Apollo Crews hit the ring and attacked Baron Corbin, and they brawled. Corbin eventually ran away and left Crews in the ring screaming at him. We then had Bayley and the Hype Bros against Alexa Bliss and Blake and Murphy. And I love Corey Graves on commentary, especially when the Hype Bros come out. And when Cass and Enzo come out, just the loathing. But he had two great things that I had to quote. One was, I wish these guys would spend less time staying hyped and more time staying home. And that cracked me up. Then he followed that a little while later with, I think we can describe this team in one word: stupid. It was hilarious. This match was a lot of fun. The crowd was so behind Bayley. Bayley is so beloved in this audience. It's just unbelievable. There were some, hey, not some, a lot. Hey, we want some Bayley. Hey, we want some Bayley. Chants, just super huge. I'm not sure who came up with the idea of putting Bayley with the Hype Bros, other than the Hype Bros just have nothing else going on. I mean, So the crowd was into this as long as Bayley was involved. The crowd would get noticeably quieter at one point when Mojo Rawley was tagged in. And yeah, one of the biggest pop, though, at one point, Alexa Bliss grabs the women's title and goes running off. Bayley gets into the ring yelling at her to bring back the title. And she's basically confronted by Murphy, which she hits Murphy with a belly to Bayley suplex, or Bayley to belly, and the place goes fucking nuts. Zach and Mojo then hit the Hype Rider for the win. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, mostly because that crowd fucking loves Bayley, and I do too. Bayley's amazing. She is just amazing. There was a backstage promo with the Ascension accepting Jason Jordan and Chad Gable's challenge from last week. That match, I think, is going to be happening next week. We then have Nia Jax shown walking backstage and approached by Eva Marie. God only knows what's going to happen with that. Apollo Crews then did a backstage interview, acting all pissed about that Baron Corbin. Wasn't bad. Crews needs to work on his angry guy stuff. Wasn't bad. We then had Deonna making her NXT TV debut against Nia Jax. Nia Jax wins with her spinebuster leg drop combo, and when she hit that spinebuster, man, she just looked like she broke Deonna's neck. It was brutal. There were then highlights of the Vaudevillains Dash and Dawson match from the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Tournament that Dash and Dawson won. We then had some backstage, Bayley looking around for Alexa. She finds Alexa doing a photo shoot holding the women's title. Alexa basically drops the belt and runs off. She picks up the belt, she being Bayley, goes to walk out, runs into Nia Jax. As she's standing there looking at Nia, Alexa attacks her, knocks her down, and then looks up at Nia Jax with this look of, oh fuck. And Nia eventually takes the belt, looks at it, does give it back to Bayley, and leaves. What's cool about this segment is that they're really setting up that Bayley is being attacked from so many different angles. So many different people want that championship, which I think is a cool way to go. We then had Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson versus the Vaudevillains for the NXT Tag Team titles. Why this wasn't the main event, I don't know. This was a really good match. At one point, Dawson busted out a picture-perfect slingshot suplex a la Tully Blanchard, which Corey Graves even referenced. Dash and Dawson got the win via submission. They really took apart Aiden English's legs, his left leg specifically, put him in some kind of reverse figure four thing, got the win, and are the new NXT Tag Team Champions. You know, and I'm going to have to say, I was wrong about this team. When I first saw these guys, I was like, what a couple of jamokes, man. Freaking jabronis. And they got that win over Cass and Enzo, which changed everything. That was their big win, just like when Blake and Murphy got that win over the Vaudevillains, which then, you know, propelled them to challenging the Lucha Dragons for the titles. But yeah, Dash and Dawson, new tag team champions, the Mechanics. I'm really liking these guys. They're a great team. Will they do anything in the main roster ever? I don't know, but if they end up just staying in NXT, who fucking cares? It's great. The main event segment was Samoa Joe doing an in-ring promo. Samoa Joe basically just acting pissed and entitled the whole time. Says that he was that he was entitled a championship match when he walked in the door. Talked a lot about, you know, choices and actions and stuff. Finn Balor came out. A bunch of refs hit the ring to hold them apart. Eventually, Joe attacked Balor, put him in the coquina clutch, knocked him out cold. And that's how it ended. Good NXT segment. Great tag team match. So, yeah. And then we have Ring of Honor this week, which was a really good show. Ring of Honor opened up with Cedric Alexander and Veda Scott versus ACH. At one point, ACH was basically standing like on the second rope and did basically a tornado snap suplex. So he's standing like on the second rope. He's holding Cedric for a suplex. He jumps, does the movement like you do for a tornado DDT off the rope, but then when he lands, turns into a snap suplex. It was great. This was just a great fucking match, man. This was another one in top matches of the week. It was up there. Tons of fun. ACH got the win. After the match, there was an ACH in-ring interview, which was basically consisted of him sitting, holding an ice pack to the back of his neck, and Kevin Kelly standing at ringside holding a mic to him while he's laying on the bottom rope, talking about the the final match in the Best of 5 series he's got going on with Matt Sydal. But this was fantastic. Go to break, come back, and Veda Scott is screaming at Nigel McGuinness at ringside about lawsuits and whatnot. Will Ferrara comes out for a match against Caprice Coleman. Will Ferrara is growing on me, but every time I see him, I don't take him seriously as he's going to win. I'm just like, oh, well, he's the guy here who's going to put on a good match and job for whoever else is in the ring. Coleman got on the mic at the beginning. It cuts a very heel-esque promo on Ferrara saying, they worked together, he trained him, he hasn't seen him in a long time, yada yada. This was a pretty good match that the crowd was dead for most of. Prince Nana came out to ringside taking notes during the match. Coleman won via submission. I can't even remember what the move was. And then as Ferrara is leaving the ring, afterwards, they do the Code of Honor and very heely Coleman moments where he's acting like he's talking up Ferrara. As Ferrara's walking up, Prince Nana hands him an envelope. It's kind of the same thing he did to Caprice Coleman a month or so ago. So they go to break, come back. We have story time with Adam Cole, the first inaugural edition, and it's a lot talking about Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, their past. This was great. It was Adam Cole, baby. You cannot go wrong with Adam Cole. You cannot go wrong with Adam Cole. We come back. Prince Nana is still at ringside doing an interview. Kevin Kelly's asking him, what's up with these envelopes? And Prince Nana says, there's more coming from me. We then had highlights of the Briscoes ANX match from All-Star Extravaganza. And then the main event, the All-Night Express against the Briscoes. And this was just a great fucking match. A tremendous tag team match. Briscoes got the win. It was awesome. Just freaking awesome. A couple of notes on Ring of Honor. Apparently, AJ Styles' contract with New Japan is coming up soon, and there's a lot of talk that he might be heading to WWE, to NXT specifically, and WWE is apparently very interested in AJ. I think they need to offer him whatever they need to do to get him in the door. He could be the absolute face of NXT for a long time. Will he ever make it to the main roster? I don't know. I don't know if I want him to. Let's build NXT as the alternative, as the other brand. And AJ Styles is the kind of guy who could do that. And you know what? With that, Adam Cole. WWE needs to sign Adam Cole because he is that fucking good. One last thing, we had over the weekend, there was UFC 193. I'm not a big MMA fan, really much one at all, but I like Ronda Rousey, so I always try to watch her fights. And before I even got a chance to watch it, I opened up the computer Sunday morning and saw all the posts about how she got her ass whooped, and so I watched the fight, and Ronda Rousey got her ass whooped. I mean, her ass was whooped. I think she went into this thing very arrogant. Apparently, this was one of the longest matches she's ever had, and that is probably what threw her off. She's so used to going out there and destroying people within, 15 to 90 seconds. And this match went, into the second round before Holly Holmes damn near took Ronda Rousey's head off with a side kick, then jumped on her and started punching her repeatedly, punched her in the head, and then hammer fisting her face before the ref stopped the match. Ronda got fucked up. There was one moment toward the end of the match where Holmes basically hit a super kick. And when I saw that, in my head, I just heard King Carino scream, "Super kick!" like he does for the Young Bucks. And it was awesome. So yeah, what's going to happen with Ronda Rousey in the future? I know Dana White has already talked about, at some point definitely getting the rematch between the two. But hey, there you go. Ronda Rousey's no longer undefeated, 12-1. Got her ass whooped. I bet she'll. You know what though? She's going to come back a better fighter, I suspect. And when she does come back, especially if it's the rematch, that's going to be huge business for UFC. One final note. It was I went to church this weekend with my daughter on Sunday, and I'm not a churchy person. I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual guy, but my religious views are kind of complex. But that's neither here nor there. During the service, the pastor, I guess was his title. I get really confused with titles of people that had churches. I grew up Episcopalian. They were called priests, father, whatever. Well, in some churches, they're ministers, and some they're pastors, and some they're priests. I half the time, I don't know what the fuck to call these people. But I think this is pastor. Yeah, I think it's pastor some shit. I forget what his name was. Nice guy. Everyone at this church, super nice people. Very nice, very warm, welcoming environment. Good people. During the preaching, or the sermon, he mentions John 3:16. As soon as he said that, the first thing that popped in my head was Steve Austin saying, Austin 3:16, it says, "I just whipped your ass." And I couldn't help it. I just immediately, boom. That made me laugh. Yet another reason, ladies and gentlemen, why this fat one-handed bald man is going to hell. That's going to do it for this week of Around the Ring. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And thank you for putting up with my political rant at the beginning of the show. Please, everyone, do send thoughts and prayers to everyone in Paris and all the folks around the world who are dealing with tragedy. There is a lot of fucked up shit in this planet, in this world, and we need to try to stick together. So send some good vibes those people's way. And yeah, give us a listen. We'll be back next week. Hopefully Jason will be back from assignment. He's off doing some stuff in Tulsa, and we wish him well. We'll see him soon. Make sure to check us out on the social medias. You can like us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/AroundTheRingOK. Follow us on Twitter @AroundTheRingOK. And hit up our website, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, hate mail, you want to tell me how much I suck, awesome, please do. aroundtheringok@gmail.com. Send us some correspondence. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate it. And it probably means more than it has any time I've ever said it on this show. But as Jerry Springer says, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And Bo Reed.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
That sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.